How's it going, boys and girls? It's your boy Rough Diamond here, back with another video. This is a no spoiler, no nonsense, 12 things to know before getting started in the wilderness of Red Dead Redemption 2. It could be pretty overwhelming when starting a game like Red Dead, especially if you haven't got all the time in the world to learn all its ins and outs. There are so many different systems, mechanics and quality of life things to know, and if you were just starting out, this is the video for you. It's a very story heavy game, and that's part of what makes this game so great. That's why I'm going to avoid spoilers as best as I can and give hard and fast tips and things to be aware of. There are a lot of maintenance systems in place in Red Dead 2, like cleaning your horse, feeding and washing Arthur, keeping your camp happy by upgrading and donating, but if you don't have the time or want to get through the game as quickly as possible, the game doesn't force you to do any of these. The camp won't kick you out for not feeding them, Arthur won't die from malnutrition, and your horse won't die if you don't feed it. But doing these things will make your day-to-day life out in the wilderness that little bit easier. I would say a bare minimum to make your life that little bit easier, just feed and wash Arthur and your horse, and that's it. You could just do story missions and not worry about anything else, but doing it all adds to the immersive experience and it's well worth it in my opinion. Red Dead isn't the sort of game you just pick up and complete overnight. It's a sort of game like GTA where you can play as much and as little as you want and come back to it anytime. Right, let's get into the meat and bones of this video, my top 12 things to know before starting Red Dead Redemption 2. 12. Bounties. It's inevitable you'll have bounties to pay in this game. It's pretty easy to get into a bar fight, murder the entire room with Deadeye, and then escape the law, but in doing so, may endure a hefty bounty. The game does push you to cause mischief. Even in story missions, you have to pay off quite a few hefty bounties. You don't have to pay off the bounties if you don't want to, it just makes travelling around a lot easier. And if you don't and you want to use auto travel, this may cause a few problems, especially if the whole map is after you. To pay off bounties, go to any post office, train station, and speak with a clerk. 11. Restock camp supplies and craft ammo. You are able to pick up supplies from the camp, like medicines and ammo, but before you can do so, you have to unlock the wagon by opening the ledger and upgrading your camp. Once upgraded, you can pick up supplies from your camp, just make sure every now and then you send somebody into town to restock. You could do this by going into the ledger, and at the bottom of the same page, you'll see the option to restock. It's also a good idea to craft ammo. You could do this by chilling at a campfire, and the option to craft will be there. 10. Arthur's hat. You'll constantly be losing Arthur's hat, with it being in a bar fight or falling off your horse, but don't worry, it's not gone forever. Just open up the horse part of the equipment wheel and put it back on from there. You can also change Arthur's clothes from here, as long as you have stored a second outfit on your horse. Also, if your clothes look a little bit dirty from carrying dead animals or rolling around in the mud, just reapply the outfit from your horse. 9. Clean and feed Arthur. As I mentioned before, you don't have to do all the day-to-day things like shaving, etc, but one thing I would keep on top of is Arthur's well-being. Making sure you feed him enough, he gets enough sleep, and he's clean. By doing these quality of life tasks, it will make your adventures out in the wilderness a little bit easier, as Arthur will be a lot healthier and your cause won't get affected. 8. Leather working tools. You can unlock leather working tools in the ledger, and by doing so, you can upgrade your satchel, which means you can hold more items. One thing to bear in mind though, you can't unlock the leather working tools straight away. You have to complete the prologue and unlock the Horseshoe Overlook camp, speak with Heer Strauss, and complete one of his debt collecting quests. Return to the camp and deposit the payment into the contribution box, interact with the ledger, and they should now be available. 7. Perks, trinkets, and talisman. Perks give your character additional boosts to help you survive out in the wilderness. They range from increased overall Deadeye duration to reduced incoming melee damage, and there are 12 you can unlock. To earn perks, you have to collect trinkets and talisman by crafting them at the fences, which are the illegal shops dotted around the map. You need to provide the fences with the relevant item and some cash, and you'll walk away with your item. 6. Manual save. The game auto-saves from time to time, but it's good practice to manual save from time to time as well. If you are pretty good at remembering to save often, I would turn off auto-save just so you can load up a previous save if things don't go your way. Like spending hours hunting, collecting pelts and storing them on your horse. Then on your ride back with auto-ride activated, you get jumped because you weren't ready. And not only do they steal your hard-earned pelts, they steal your horse as well. Which, as you probably can tell, I'm still a little bit salty. And if I didn't have auto-save on, I could have reloaded a past save before the horse got stolen. 5. Loot buildings and bodies. You don't have to, but it's a good idea to loot downed enemies as much as possible, as all the spare change adds up, and it's a good way of collecting medicines, etc. without having to pay. Also, after clearing out a building or even stumbling across empty buildings, have a look around as there are valuable items scattered all around the map. A little tip when looting buildings: if you use a focus mode, the same one used for hunting, it will highlight nearby interactable items. 4. Best way to refill cores. Your health, stamina and deadeye cores and rings take some time to get used to, but once you understand their mechanics and how to refill them, it's quite easy. I'm not going to go into how they work as there are in-game tutorials which you can check out again at the pause menu, but other than using items in your inventory, the best way to keep them topped up is to eat good food regularly, like red meats from hunting, and sleeping enough. It's too easy to go days without sleeping and eating, and just topping up your cores with medicines, but by doing so Arthur's well-being and cores may be affected. Also, don't forget there is free coffee and food at your camp in the big cooking pot on the fire. The coffee is unlimited and the food replenishes after 24 in-game hours. 3. Weapons. Playing through story missions gives you all of the in-game weapons, so you don't have to buy them from the shop. Just keep an eye on the minimap when playing through missions for the little gun symbol, especially gold ones, as these may be weapons you haven't yet picked up, and or exclusive to an in-game character. Don't forget to upgrade your weapons at the gun store to improve performance, looks and durability. Also, don't forget to clean your weapons often with gun oil by going into your equipment wheel and choosing the weapon, which will then give you the option to clean the weapon. 2. Fast travel. After about your 5th long ride, you'll be asking for fast travel. There are a few different fast travel options, and depending on where you want to go depends on which one you use. You can use a train or stagecoach to travel to random stops around the map, but you are quite restricted. There is also an interactable map on the side of your cart at your camp, which works pretty much the same way as a train and stagecoach. One thing to bear in mind though, is you can't unlock fast travel from the camp straight away. You have to complete the prologue and unlock the Horseshoe Overlook camp, speak with Herr Strauss, and complete one of his deck collecting quests. Return to the campsite and deposit the payment into the contribution box, interact with the ledger, and now the upgrades should be available. There is also a way of auto-riding your horse to a destination by putting a waypoint on the map and activating cinematic mode by holding the touchpad on PlayStation or holding select on Xbox. Just make sure you're riding along the red line when activating cinematic mode. 1. Horse care and bonding. Other than looking after yourself to maximise Arthur's cores, etc., looking after your horse is also just as important. Keeping your horse fed, hit so it can rest, brushed or washed to maximise its cores and rings. You can also upgrade items on your horse like saddles and stirrups, which improves performance. You can find wild horses in certain locations which you can make your own around the map, but arguably one of the best horses can be found and tamed at this location, which is the Arabian horse. Just be mindful, horses can be stolen if you die after getting jumped on the road. If you bond with another horse, it will become your temporary horse, and you can make it your main horse by putting the saddle on it. Bonding with your horse is important in Red Dead to level up your horse and unlock abilities like drifting and rearing. There are all different ways you can bond with your horse, from hitching it to feeding, but the easiest way is to pat your horse, which can be done when riding it, and there's no denying you spend plenty of time riding around. A few other points worth mentioning: it's best to use the Varnint's rifle to kill animals, as it doesn't ruin the pelt. After hunting an animal, and if not selling it whole or giving it to the camp, I usually skin it there and then, which will give you meat as well as a pelt to sell. You can hold as many small pelts on the back of your horse as you like, just make sure you remember to pick them up if your horse falls over. When looting or interacting, there may be more than one interactable item available, and it can be difficult positioning yourself in front of the desired item. But if you use the shoulder buttons, you can cycle through the available interactable items. You could go first person by pressing the select button on Xbox or touchpad on PlayStation, which is very useful in certain situations and is pretty fun in gunfights. Also, when aiming down sights in first person, press down on the D-pad to toggle looking down the iron sights on and off. If you hold the start button, you will go straight into the map, and if you press it, you will go to the options menu. You can download the Red Dead Redemption 2 companion app, which is quite useful to use when playing the game, as you can see the map as you ride along. Also, there are websites out there that have interactable maps, which show you the locations from anything from gold bars to loot spots, which I've linked below. Right, that's it for this video. Hope you guys found it useful. I really did making it. It was quite fun. I wanted to get this out as soon as possible, hopefully before Christmas, just so you guys have got a little guide for when starting on Christmas Day or Boxing Day. Like if you like, comment and sub. Hit the little bell for notifications for my next video. I've been Rough Diamond. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Catch you all in a video soon. Laters.